Good morning. On this Wednesday morning, April 28th. Welcome, everyone. How are we doing today? Jim and Kathy, good to see you this morning. Welcome. Dana Kreshock, good morning to you. Hope everybody's morning is going well. Lori Cares, good morning. Barbara Richardson, welcome to you. Good morning. Brittany George, wow. All the way from Florida. Good to see you this morning. Daryl and Suzanne. Oh, you guys are in Cali. Okay. Welcome this morning. Alyssa Tucker and Graham. Good morning, Graham. Good to see you this morning. Wendy and Jeremy, good morning to you. Kyle Myers, Kyle and Katya, good to see you this evening. They're in New Delhi, India. Good morning. Janisa, good morning. There's my mom. Welcome. Wow, such a diverse crowd this morning as far as, geographically diverse. Carmen Lego, good morning. So I am in, let's see, this morning's readings began in Psalm 28, 58, 88. And I'm going to grab just a couple of thoughts from some of the Psalms, and most of what I want to talk about this morning are only what the Psalms infer rather than the specific verses of the Psalms themselves. And let's start with Psalm 28. If I get there. So Psalm 28, it's a Psalm of David, and he says, "To you, O Lord, I call, my rock, be not deaf to me, lest, if you be silent to me, I become like those who go down to the pit. Hear the voice of my pleas for mercy when I cry to you for help, when I lift my hands toward your most holy sanctuary. Do not drag me off with the wicked, with the workers of evil, who speak peace with their neighbors while evil is in their hearts. Give to them according to their work and according to the evil of their deeds." So if you read the rest of the psalm, and we won't have time to read it all, what David is getting at is he is crying out to God, and God, for whatever reason, is being silent. He even uses the word deaf. You're not even hearing me, God. Don't be silent toward me. Don't be deaf. And he cries out and appeals to equity, fairness. Because it feels like if you are deaf to me, if you're silent, I'm going to be lumped in with the wicked. Let them get what they deserve, but I shouldn't get what they deserve. I'm crying out to you. You're my God. And so here I am, and for whatever reason, there's a delay in your answer, and it feels like you're not hearing me. And so in David's mind, in his heart, he's struggling with the inequity of that idea. Psalm 58 is an imprecatory psalm. Has words like, "Let the teeth of the wicked be broken," and the psalmist is calling for God to do this, break their teeth. Let them be like the stillborn. It's a really heavy-duty bad things. I want bad things to happen to my enemies, and God, I want you to do that to them. We struggle with that idea, especially a New Testament informed theology. And now I'm going to jump to Psalm 88, where the psalmist, almost the entire psalm, if not the entire psalm, I guess it starts out positive, but by verse 3, it just goes off the deep end as far as crying out to God that, God, you are the cause of all my troubles. He starts out, "O Lord, God of my salvation, I cry out day and night before you. Let my prayer come before you. Incline your ear to my cry. This sounds a lot like how Psalm 28 began. This is not a Psalm of David. Verse 3, everything shifts. For, the reason I'm crying out to you, and I want you to save me, for my soul is full of troubles, and my life draws near to Sheol, or to the pit, or to the grave. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am a man who has no strength, like one set loose among the dead, like the slain that lie in the grave, like those whom you, God, remember no more. They are cut off from your hand. You have put me in the depths of the pit. See, hear the language. You have put me in the depths of the pit, into the grave, where I'm cut off from you. You don't remember me. The regions dark and deep, your wrath lies heavy upon me. You overwhelm me with all your waves. You have caused my companions to shun me. You have made me a horror to them. All my friends have left me. And God, it's your fault. You're the one who is behind this. And I'm crying out to you. I don't understand why I'm being treated this way, is kind of a sense of it. I'm crying to you, I'm seeking you, but you are, and there's no sense, sometimes in these kinds of psalms, when the psalmist is feeling like God's hand is heavy upon them, is another phrase a psalmist might use, is often associated with sin, that they are also confessing sin. I know that I deserve it, and I'm repenting of that, and so I want your favor to restore. I want your grace to be restored to me. But that's not the sense of this psalm. It's just that God is allowing me to be aligned with the dead. Even my friends have abandoned me, and it doesn't ever resolve. It comes down to the very last verse. You, God, have caused my beloved, my friend, to shun me, even my closest friend to shun me. And now who are my only friends that are left? He says, my companions have become darkness. So that's the pleasant thought for today. So let me talk about Psalms just as a genre of Scripture, just for a moment. It's important for us to realize that the Psalms are not meant to be Hebrew poetry. It's in this realm of poetry where the psalmist is expressing how they feel about their life experience. And that, how they feel, is a lot of the times reflective of their own theology. What they believe about God comes out in that. And other times their theology just reflects, or their words rather, just reflect how they feel, whether it's accurate theologically or not. Psalms aren't meant to be a theological work, an accurate portrayal of who God is and his plan for mankind. Does that seem strange to hear? What I mean by that is sometimes the psalmists use words to exaggerate, to reflect how they feel when their feelings, they're accurately reflecting their feelings, but their feelings don't necessarily reflect accurate theology. And someone has said, Athanasius has said that most of the scriptures speak to us, inform our hearts, whereas the Psalms speak for us. They're a reflection of how life experience feels. And we cry out to God and say, for instance, the psalmists are saying, God, you've forsaken me, you've left me, you're deaf to me. Those are theologically inaccurate statements. I mean, we would probably all agree with that. No, God hasn't left us. He's right there present with us. It just feels like he's left us. God, you are not hearing me. You're silent. You're deaf to me. Well, that's not theologically correct. Of course, God hears our prayers, but his silence, there's something going on in his divine plan that we're not quite understanding, and we don't understand what feels like distance, that he's far away, that he's not hearing. There's a delay in the salvation that we're asking for, the God to rescue. And so that's what I'm talking about when I'm meaning the Psalms aren't meant to be theologically accurate all the time. They're more a reflection of how we feel. And I think they're a very accurate reflection of how we feel. We feel like the psalmist saying, I've gone down to the pit. I'm like the dead. I've been completely cut off from you, or from really enjoyment of life itself. And I'm struggling with, we don't even know what the psalmist is struggling with in Psalm 88, but it's bad. Their friends have abandoned them, and they're experiencing very profound and deep and difficult issues, and it doesn't resolve by the end. There's no at the end of the psalm saying, why are you downcast, O my soul, yet will I put my praise in the Lord. A lot of the psalms, the laments of the psalms, end with that kind of positive turn of faith, but not all the psalms. Psalm 88 is a great example of that the psalm ends in despair. My only friends are darkness. That's my true companions right now, because all my other friends have left, and now my only companions are darkness. That's how Psalm 88 ends. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because this is not an uncommon experience in life. There are many things in our life that's how we feel, that it kind of brings us to a point of despair. Seems like obviously a word that might be associated with the experiences of Psalm 88. But even other words that are less than that, but where we just feel resolute in, this is almost fatalistic, that there's nothing I can do about it. This is just my lot in life, and I'm just going to feel this way for the rest of my life. And we have this kind of dull sense of there is no hope for anything different than what I'm currently experiencing. And that's how things feel. And so the reason I put the title having peaceful inequity meaning it just doesn't feel fair. God, the Psalm 28 says, don't treat me like the wicked. I mean, they're going to get what they deserve. Why am I feeling like what they should be getting? God, hear my cry. There's this cry of inequity. Doesn't feel fair. I'm trying to be faithful, and yet I feel a whole lot like those who go down to the pit. And so I think in life, when we experience these limitations that these particularly intense emotions and so on that we'd prefer not to feel, our desires that they just go away. God, can't you just heal this wound in my life? Can't you just heal this circumstance? Can't you just reach into my heart and cleanse those things? Well, yes, the answer is yes. He can. He can't. God can do anything. But what we find in experience is that he doesn't. And that's hard. We feel like that's not fair. God, I need you to cleanse even those deep wounds that are in me that surface, that are triggered. Now I'm kind of moving to more of a personal view. This was my what was the bulk of my journaling this morning. Just frustration with some of the wounds of my life that linger, and in the last 5 years in particular, becoming more aware of how those wounds have that influence my choices and how the lens that I see the world, which I believe at some level is an accurate lens, just like the words that these psalmists use sometimes are not theologically accurate. The lens I see the world and how I interpret how people think and what they do and my life experience is warped because I have these wounds in me that are the filter through which I hear and see the world. And as God reveals those lenses to me and those wounds to me, and like, oh yeah, that's why I think that way. That's why I'm responding to that person in a way that seems disproportionate. That's why I have these kind of this dull fear in me or anxiety based upon what somebody said, whatever it is. As I start to understand these wounds more, I grow a little impatient in God. Okay, I get it. I see where those wounds come from. I see that they are informing my thinking in a way that isn't actually in relation to reality, into truth. And so even, I had this expectation that now that I know the truth and I can speak truth to these wounds, why don't the wounds go away? Why don't they stop influencing my behavior, my thinking, how I interpret other people's actions and words? And for whatever reason, God doesn't heal those wounds in my life. And so rather than be frustrated that I have these expectations that God should just take them away, what I am learning is that I need to grow in a peaceful coexistence with this sense of inequity, that I shouldn't be feeling these things, I shouldn't have these wounds, but like, okay, they're just there. And growing in a peaceful coexistence to just be satisfied with speaking truth to the wounds. To have, it's like I can't change my vision. My eyes don't see 20/20 anymore. And there's nothing I can do about it. I suppose I could get surgery or something like that, but to carry out the analogy, I don't have 20/20 vision. So what I have chosen to do is I put a lens on my eye that corrects it. I wear contacts. And so this is kind of my resolution with some of these wounds in my life that are very slow. I do see healing in them, but I do see it's the idea of I now have been given tools of truth to speak to the wounds. It's like putting that lens over the distortions of my eye so that I can see those things clearly. But the distortion in my eye still exists. And so I'm becoming more acquainted with peace in the midst of the frictions and conflict of that the wounds are still there. Now I'm using wounds as an example, but I mean life circumstance feels that way. Broken relationships can feel that way, where there's just no resolution, and there's no resolution that you can see on the horizon. And this is where we really connect with these psalms. It's like, God, why are you turning a deaf ear to me? Why are you silent? You're treating me like what I would expect those who don't know you to feel. I know you. I have a relationship with you. Why aren't you just healing this? Why aren't you just doing something about it? And so this idea of inequity raises up, and God's plan and how he moves is according to his timetable, which is obviously not always our timetable. And sometimes that timetable just is slow. We get a lot of words in the common words in the Psalms like waiting. I'm willing to wait. That's where I'm kind of getting at, where we find peace in the inequity. We find this peaceful coexistence where we can say, okay, God, you are enough. I do have these things in my life that I would prefer not to have. They do cause pain in me. But I'm grateful to know the truth about you. I'm grateful to know the truth about how you feel about me, even though I don't feel those things all the time. And so I'm going to rest, find peace in that. I think that's reasonable. I don't know that it's reasonable to think that, God, you just need to answer my prayer and get rid of the problems. Because that's not going to be our life experience. We know that. So what's an alternative? What's a more reasonable expectation? That we grow in our ability to have peace in the midst of those conflicts, in the midst of that inequity, in the midst of, as we process these things that we don't understand, that we prefer to be different, and trust God. And it's in that process that I believe that God richly reveals himself to us, and that he can deepen our understanding of our relationship with him, really. And it helps us to remember that one day when we see him face to face, these wounds will not be a part of our life. This difficult inequity that we sometimes experience in life will no longer be present. We'll be completely healed, completely cleansed of all of these things when we see him face to face. And so we have to keep remembering that this life is not all there is. That we will have troubles in this life. But Jesus says, take hope in this. I have overcome the world. I have overcome the troubles of this world. And I promise the same thing for you. One day we'll see him face to face, and these things will not even be a part of our thinking or experience any longer. But in the meantime, we grow in our ability to find peace in the midst of that inequity. So that's the thought for today, and I spent most of my time this morning journaling about that and working through my own frustrations with it. And Psalms are very helpful in that, because they do express accurately how we feel, even if they're not always accurate in how they describe who God really is. So they're helpful. If I can I hope you understand that differentiation. So anyway, Lord bless you today. We'll see you again in the morning.